Star Wars Outlaws, Youngblood, Unknown 9, Forspoken. All of these games feature strong female characters, but they are also united by harsh criticism from the audience. Of course, one might think that this whole current of hate is directed solely through sexism, racism, and sometimes homophobia. Perhaps in some cases, it is. But a wider audience, which is less malicious, cannot do this only because of hatred towards certain groups of people. At least because we have an example where these same marginalized groups in the lead roles received good reviews from the players. Why are some characters who promote female strength and equality treated with understanding and respect by players, while others seem to be mudslinging with the same narrative? Well, it actually goes much deeper than just poorly written characters, and I have a theory as to why various consulting companies deliberately create games and characters solely for players like you and me to trash them. I would start with the recent Unknown 9. Even without playing the game, just by going to its Metacritic page, you can understand that a certain consulting company was behind the development. And no, I'm not saying that Sweet Baby employees come to developers and spill coffee on their keyboards or force them at gunpoint to make 2005 level graphics and artificial intelligence and PC that doesn't even exist. But it doesn't take a genius to realize that they definitely had an impact on the fact that the peak online player of the game they were consulting was as many as 285 people. And yes, you heard me right. 285 people took a chance and played the game. But that's not even the worst thing that happened to this project, thanks to Sweet Baby. The game had great potential. At least that's what Bandai Namco thought, and they bought out unknown developers because they believed in the game. You could see their logo in Tekken, Elden Ring, and of course, the Dark Souls series. Bandai Namco, believing in this project and its future, invested a fairly significant amount of money, which would be enough to create a third of Concord, which is a lot. And everything seemed great. Developers who really love their project, a publisher that allocates large amounts of money, but the game had a small flaw that just ruined everything. Even before the game's release, it became known that the game's production was directly related to Sweet Baby. And although Reflector, the developers of this masterpiece, tried to hide this fact until the last moment, in the end, they had to indicate on the game's website that they were working with David Beddard, co-founder of SBI, and everyone knows Kim Belair, who is the CEO of this company. This fact literally destroyed all interest in the game even before its release. The official launch trailer, which was published 3 days before the release, collected a large number of dislikes, and one comment, "This game will be concorded," collected almost as many likes as the trailer. All of this once again shows that Sweet Baby Inc. is a real stigma. With just one mention of this company, multi-million-dollar projects turn into an empty garbage dump that no one wants to play. Just think about it. Videos with reviews where this game is being slandered are watched thousands of times more than people play it. But let's be honest, there are a lot of prejudiced players who hate games because of inclusivity without even playing them. Maybe Unknown 9 is actually a good game and it was just unlucky enough to face a lot of hate before it was released? No, it's a very bad game. And it's not even about the woke elements or even the poor graphics and animation. Yes, there are a lot of women of different races, and the main villain is a straight white man. And Anna Chalotra, who plays the main character, is supposedly made, let's just say, less bright than in real life. The main problem here is the plot. This is the element of the game that Kim Belair was responsible for. The story doesn't even grab me. Not that I played it through completely, I just think I didn't even get to the middle, but it's unlikely to get better. The story is just not interesting. Everything revolves around immortality, the endless cycle of life and death of entire worlds, but there is a lot of banal and little personal emotion in it. The authors probably wanted to intrigue us with a metaverse, like an epic story where you will learn many details and references from other games, comics, and books, but no. We won't know because the game failed, and all of the dreams and ambitions of the developers were destroyed. But Sweet Baby Inc. isn't the only one who deliberately worsens other people's work. Last year, another failed game was released with a strong woman who was also black. The first thing that comes to mind is that SBI was also involved in the creation of Forspoken, but this is actually not true. Another consulting company, Black Girl Gamers, was involved in the development of this game. BGG is a racist company that hires employees based on race. This is a company that believes that gamers who thought the industry revolved around them and their comforts are now realizing it doesn't. So shut the fuck up. Nobody cares that you play games that are made even for you. But for whom? No, it's for you. Maybe Black Girl Gamers are right, and the gaming industry doesn't revolve around gamers, but it definitely revolves around the money gamers spend on games. And how can we spend our money on games that are artificially made worse and sometimes downright vile? Like Forspoken. I truly hate this game, and I truly hate myself for buying it and not even having time to refund it. In fact, Unknown 9 can even be called a relatively normal game compared to Forspoken. But I do have to clarify one thing, so that I don't get labeled a sexist and racist for my thoughts on this game. Of course, I have no problem with the color of the main character's skin, and of course, I have no problem with her being a woman. I genuinely actually like playing as female characters, so I'm sorry that consulting companies are ruining games like this. Frey, the main character of Forspoken, became one of the first black female protagonists in the fantasy genre. And this is very cool, but black girl gamers did not give people a chance to play this game. First of all, the main character is just bad. Although I have to give credit to the actress who played Freya, the facial animations were really good and I liked her voice, but what was terrible was the way the character and dialogues were written.
Shit! Assholes. Is that a motherfucking dragon? What a fucking day. This place fucking sucks.
In which the main character is more like an overgrown buzzer, constantly using the words shit, fuck, and ass to, I don't know, maybe it was supposed to reveal the character of the heroine and show her strength and independence? The game's plot, which, by the way, was written by 7 screenwriters, looks like it was just written by children. And mentally retarded ones. Throughout the game, we have to kill cruel rulers who have gone mad, and each of them have its own element of power. But one day, it turns out that they went crazy because of an evil white man. But in general, the girls are kind and do everything for fun. By the way, don't you think that the main villain is not just white, but very white? The game also promotes a single parent family. And no, this is not my BGG related joke. In this game, the girl's mother literally throws her away, knowing that the girl has a living father who, according to her, is a very successful and cool man. And in general, that's it. Indeed, this is the whole plot. But in all fairness, I must say that the game also has a poor engine, and visually it looks like a piece of shit. So maybe the game didn't have a chance even if it hadn't been consulted by BGG and had a normal story. But we can recall Far Cry New Dawn, which was a good game visually and gameplay wise, but it had the worst written main antagonists in the history of video games, with less screen time than the trailer. And the plot was so shitty that it seems like the game was also consulted by SBI. Oh shit. You know, these 2 strong black antagonists remind me of 2 other strong and independent girls, the ones who ruined one of my favorite franchises. And although the developers themselves have turned the crazy and fun Wolfenstein into this boring RPG shooting gallery with Nazis who now have these stupid health bars, I can't close my eyes to the incredible boring main characters, as well as the secondary characters who are mostly women in this game. And again, I don't want to sound sexist, but it was much more boring to destroy crowds of Nazis as 2 strong and independent girls than as William Blazkowicz, who was a straight white man. But Sweet Baby or any other consulting company was not involved in the development of Wolfenstein Youngblood. It seems that it is simply impossible to write female protagonists well, and it doesn't matter whether any inclusive woke companies interfere in the development or not. Of course not. We have A Plague Tale, Mirror's Edge, Tomb Raider, and of course, Stellar Blade. I would even single out this game, which reveals the main character from unexpected and pleasant sides. When you play Stellar Blade, you feel the depth of the character. Eve is not just a warrior. Her motivation is based on an inner conflict and a sense of duty. The game emphasizes the strength of her character, creating a character that is easy to get attached to and empathize with. That's why I completely disagree with Kotaku, who called the game flat. And of course, how can we not mention The Last of Us 2, where we have 2 female protagonists who are both perfectly written and who exactly correspond to the meaning of a strong woman. One of them is also an LGBT person. Fuck you, Sweet Baby Inc., said Neil Druckmann, and made a great game without woke consultation. Well, almost. Although the game received some hate from players who didn't like the new direction of the series when it was first released, I still consider it a good example of how to write female protagonists. But how did they manage to create normal female characters? It's just that these are good games, so the audience's attitude to the main characters is different. We don't need a perfect game. That's Rockstar's responsibility. If the game itself is good enough, the audience can forgive. For example, a poorly written character or weak visuals, but if the game itself is full of shit, of course, gamers will look for someone to blame. So it turns out it's only Sweet Baby, right? When they get involved in the development, this game immediately becomes a 10-year-old gay boy living in a small Alabama town where a list of all the gay people in town is always posted on the doors of the local church so that the residents can easily find them and bully. And the boy's name is Connor Cord. But how can we close our eyes to the fact that Sweet Baby Inc. has good games in its portfolio? Although in Spider-Man 2, there is some SBI influence.
I can't thank you enough. Also, my boyfriend's your biggest fan.
It is also a good game in general. But what unites all of these projects? The main character is a straight white man. I really believe that SBI specifically degrades games with a female protagonist, and for some reason does not degrade games with a male protagonist. But why? What are their motives? It's actually deeper than you might think. The inclusive companies we've all been talking about today can purposely use the role of the victim as a marketing strategy. Again, poor sales and bankruptcy of game studios are not their problem at all. They sneezed on it. If a game they consulted fails, Sweet Baby loses absolutely nothing. But by releasing projects that are expected to cause a negative reaction, they use the criticism and a lot of hate as a confirmation of their progressive position. This creates an image of their brand as suffering for ethical leadership, thereby strengthening the loyalty of their target audience, which is a minority. And maybe in an ideal world, this could help to gradually change the views of a wider audience, but in the real world, we see this. Because the audience is not stupid.